Live on a Monday edition of the program, Merely Bo and the Great Z. How you doing, buddy?
I'm in darkness.
It is darkness. Hello, darkness, my old friend. So they're doing the construction. They put up a temporary wall. Behind the wall was our window to the world.
Natural
and now,
light. None.
Not. So
Quite dark.
it is quite dark.
Yes, indeed.
It actually makes the lights more bright.
They're hurting me.
They are. It's hard to even look in that direction, to be
Yeah.
quite honest, if I'm going to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that
We might
is
need
not
to wear
great.
the hoodies to bring like light to the area.
Like full all the whole time, just
yeah,
always.
boom. Yeah.
And then the joy.
The joy.
The
Pure.
joy of it all.
Mhm,
Yeah, that might help. That could certainly help. I feel robbed from yesterday. I feel robbed. Robbed by what happened in the Eagles-Niners game.
Totally.
The quarterback
I mean-
stuff. I mean, you just didn't get a game. It was done.
All right. So I have
And then
I have thoughts on that.
and then robbed by the officiating in the fourth quarter in the AFC that I think marred what was still a really thrilling game, but some just inexplicable stuff and decisions on what to call and what not to call. And the idea that we have a league that is worth what this league is worth, and we don't have full-time referees that aren't held accountable, and we don't have a sky judge permanently ready to get things right away. I don't
But
have
then-
any sort of – I can't wrap my head around it.
But then sometimes, like when Mahomes' knee was down on that pass,
yeah,
they have it in
right now.
a split second,
Right now. They got it.
which is
Right.
incredible to me. But
Yeah.
all right, let's start. Let's go. Let's
You want to do chronologically, or do you want to
You
start in the
tell-
AFC? I'm choose your own adventure. I'll do either one.
let's go chronology. We'll start with the Niners and the Eagles.
Yeah.
Well, and this is going to lead me into what I told you. I said, if I ever had a program that I did solo, I would do this thing or not a thing. Like, is this a thing or is it not a thing? So you can use that if you'd like.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're
I like- that
welcome.
feels like kind of a catch-all.
It feels
like
correct.
something you could do every day.
Every
feels
day.
like you could almost get sports and non-sports topics in there. Illuminating, entertaining,
Food,
yeah,
cinema,
anything you want.
Television.
I like it. I'm
Yeah.
gonna wait. Let me
Vacation
write
spots,
that down. I'm gonna write that.
trends. Yeah, write that down.
Down.
Thing
That was thing
or not.
or not a thing. I like it.
So this is going to
I'm
cover
gonna workshop
what
that.
I'm going to do here is going to cover into both games, but it's going to start chronologically with
Okay.
what was the biggest play early on anyway of the
Yep.
first game. And so what I'm going to propose as, and I think this is, you actually tell me if you had that idea, how would you do it? Would you be
Okay.
like, is
All
this
right.
a thing or
All
is
right.
it not
Let's
a thing?
pretend that I have an institutional
you knew it.
knowledge. Okay.
Yeah.
Go.
So what would I do? How do I introduce it? Do I say
I would say
is blank
I would
a
say
thing or
no.
not
I
a
would
thing?
say this happened, thing or not a thing.
There is okay. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Right.
Yep. Let's try it.
Reading the body language of a wide receiver in a non-catch situation, thing or not a thing? I say
No. You would stop,
stop.
and then I would say thing.
Thing.
Clearly a thing.
Not to NFL head coaches yesterday.
No.
though. Not a thing.
Not a thing.
Exhibit A.
Yeah.
4th down.
Yeah.
Devontae Smith goes up, makes what appears to be
A super
an incredible
Yeah.
one-handed catch.
Sure.
I've seen Devontae Smith make a lot of big plays. Had Devontae Smith had full confidence in himself that he had caught that football, he jumps up. He's probably going to give you a first down.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to go gesture to the crowd. Everybody's going to be going nuts in Philly. Instead,
Yeah.
Devontae Smith jumps up and does this, which must be their sign for
Speed,
everybody
speed.
hurry the hell up
Right.
and let's snap this ball. I saw that. I said, challenge it. He doesn't think he caught the ball. Challenge it. It's worth it anyway because it's a turnover, basically.
For sure.
And 30
Yeah.
yards.
Too important.
Too important not to.
Yeah.
Does Kyle challenge it?
No.
Mistake by the gangsta. They ultimately scored touchdowns. Could have scored 0. In fact, it took a while to get the definitive review, but I feel like they would have gotten there in time to overturn it. But clearly not a catch.
It was
Like not
clearly
even close.
Yep. Very obviously.
Okay?
Yeah.
So that was Exhibit A. Exhibit B.
Big thing. Yeah.
Exhibit B. Oh, leave it open.
Oh boy, it was so nice,
Leave it
even
open.
just for a moment.
Exhibit B. Mahomes throws an absolute dime to Kadarius Toney.
Yep.
Does he catch it? Refs aren't sure. Kadarius Toney's sure because he gets up and starts shaking his head and walks back towards the bench while Bengals guys are chirping at him and he's like, oh, yeah, go ahead, talk in my ear, whatever.
Yep.
clearly did not catch the
Clearly
football.
did not catch the football.
Andy Reid. I'm going to challenge it and find out if he did.
Just look at him.
What are we doing? I knew both of those calls within 2 seconds of what happened and what the head coach should do in both cases, and
Did
neither
the
of them
opposite.
saw it. Like,
two guys who are geniuses when it comes to offensive play calling and just can't read body language.
there's got to be enough people on the sideline to
Someone's
be
gotta
like,
say,
dude,
"Coach."
that guy does not believe he caught the ball. When a receiver catches the ball on a play like that, they're going to let
nuts.
the world know, hey, I did something great. They're not going to be like, that's what the quarterback usually does. Like, hey, let's go. I'm not sure he's in bounds or whatever.
Right.
This is the receiver being like, I didn't catch that. Let's go.
Yep.
And then the other one was like, he's sulking. He was sulking.
Yep.
I blew it. And Andy Reid's like, well, maybe you're wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't actually feel the ball come out of your hands, roll along your torso on the ground, and then you picked it up again.
Yeah. No. Sometimes
Was
it
that
is
good?
that simple.
Would
They
that
did a
be-
good job. That's a good job.
It's good.
In fact, if in a hypothetical situation, maybe that would be something that I could even apply as soon as tomorrow.
I'd like you to use
the
that
hypothetical
tomorrow.
scenario.
Nothing would bring
Perhaps.
me great joy for you to debut that segment, and then with that one.
in there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, maybe I'll see if see if we can get that done. Two big things there. Let's do Eagles Niners.
Back to
first.
Eagles Niners. Yeah, but anyway, I had that drove me nuts yesterday.
Appropriate vent. In the end, it doesn't make a damn bit of difference because you have no quarterbacks. So if you cannot throw the ball down the field, you're cooked. And so the fact that happened in an NFC Championship game to a team that was already down their first two quarterbacks, already onto their third, that actually went through their third and their fourth, and by the time the first drive of the second half is underway, you are in a situation where you cannot throw the ball down the field. It's done. It's impossible to me that there isn't, like in the NHL, for example, there's a third goalie for break glass situations. And I understand that this is once in a million, but this was a big million. This is the NFC Championship game. Like, don't even have him on the sideline. But once you're down to that level, there has got to be a third quarterback somewhere who can come in and play. You cannot have that happen. What happened yesterday? Because you were robbed.
It wasn't a real game.
It wasn't even a game.
It was not a game. So, 3 things. Thing 1. Not doing thing or not a thing. This is just, I'll call it item A.
Well, what about? Well, you just said. What's interesting is you just said 3 things. That
which
also sounds like a really good idea for a time.
All right, I got 3
segment.
things on this.
I like that too. It's almost like that might be something you could do every day too.
Numero uno.
Yeah.
This is the first conference championship game in NFL history where it is likely that the 49ers would have been better off playing, I'm going to guess, at least 20 people in the crowd that day. And I'm talking fans, not like Steve Young, who was there, or Kurt Warner on the call. I'm talking 20 fans.
I don't think
if not more, maybe anybody, because basically they were playing with, like, if they picked, like, not Pedro to play quarterback, they would run the same offense.
Yeah, they couldn't do anything. Yeah.
He couldn't even, those screens took an hour to go 2 yards.
Yeah.
Like, it was insane. So this is, I believe this is the first time where there's, like, maybe even 100, maybe even 1,000 people in attendance who would
high school quarterback
gave the Niners a better chance.
There were probably college quarterbacks in attendance.
I feel like we would have given the Niners a better chance. We could have at least thrown the ball 50 yards.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, that's not what you got. No.
So that's insane.
That was insane.
That's thing 1. Thing 2, and maybe it is, maybe it was unfortunate camera timing just because there are somber and serious things going on and your team is not doing well, but Jimmy Garoppolo appeared to be having the time of his life on the sideline throughout the entirety of this game, which was a complete debacle. I mean, he was yucking it up and laughing every time he was shown on camera.
I did see that. I didn't see it as so. Some of this game I caught in the car on the radio.
I mean, they
would take cutaways and he was having the time of his life.
Oh my God!
I saw a couple of him smiling,
ear to ear, grin. Yeah,
wow.
Just like,
why is he on the sideline then?
He was on the playoff roster and inactive.
Right, but like if his attitude was that, like it's weird that Kyle wouldn't have a better read on that he would have him be in the mix if he was going to enjoy something like that.
And again, maybe it was
bad
timing. Maybe somebody told a great joke. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because at that point, I mean, that's all they could do.
Cooked.
They knew they couldn't win. I mean, it was like
cooked.
It was a joke.
It was done. Yeah.
Like a high school team. And the third is, to your earlier point, there needs to be, I believe, for going forward in playoff games only, not in the regular season ever. Too bad. Tough turkey. In playoff games only, every quarterback in your program should be dressed and eligible to play in the game. only but 3 can only play if 1
Here's
and
the
2
thing,
get
though.
hurt, and 4. But they should all be able. You should never have a situation where you don't have a quarterback. Go ahead.
What is the big benefit even if you dress 3 for every game? Who cares? You're not going to play all 3. It's not like the Chiefs are going to be like, oh God, we got Chad Henne. We also got to get
because they don't want to take away from a linebacker or somebody who plays
but
special
just
teams or
add
whatever.
a position so you can have 3 quarterbacks active every week. Who cares?
I agree.
No one's going to play him. There's not a competitive advantage to have 3 quarterbacks.
I couldn't agree more.
Who cares? You can't play an NFC Championship game
without a
and have that happen.
They
That's
couldn't
a
throw the
debacle.
ball.
No, it's a debacle. And so we were robbed of the game that we thought we were going to see. We didn't get to see it.
Did you hear Nance's good line? He goes, "What if I would have told you that Brock Purdy started and finished the game against the Eagles, did not throw an incomplete pass in the entire game, and the Niners lost 31-7?"
That's a good line.
Yeah,
I'm surprised he got it out without Romo yucking it up over his every call.
that's on my notes. He's lost it.
It's over.
I think
over.
they maybe
It's
should pay him to go away.
He doesn't know.
He's not doing any work.
I don't know what he's doing. It's
Not
a big play here, Jim. I mean, it's like we know, dude, it's 3rd down. There's a minute 20 to go. I think we have an understanding of that. There's no analysis. It's all
know
nonsense.
who the players are.
I agree with you. I think he's gotten very, very lazy. He doesn't know. I mean, it's nuts how bad it's gotten. It really is. I think Nance is fed up.
I think he was
felt
annoyed.
like it.
Like the one where he did a whole monologue of Mahomes' thoughts, and he's like, apparently there's a lot going on in Patrick's head, but it's 3rd down now, Tony. Awesome.
Yeah, just lost. It was bad. That was really, really bad. And Burkhardt and Olsen are great, but they had to call a garbage game because the game was lost.
I love everything. I really enjoy listening to Greg Olson's analysis. I think they sound too similar. There's something about their voices that don't. He gives top-notch analysis.
Yeah.
But you don't get the and maybe because they're new to this role and it'll take time, but you don't get the gravity from them that you get from just hearing Jim Nance.
Yeah, that gravity comes with time. I don't know if Jim Nance had gravity in '86 at the Masters, but you get it when you call a game. When you call something like that, that's something that comes. Look, I am not. I gave a little history lesson this morning about the Montreal screw job, right? The Bret Hart, and so we were talking about that, and I said this isn't the Kansas City screw job for the Bengals. It's not that.
No, but
it's bad, and I think if it were. I mean, I cannot imagine replace us with the Bengals. If you and I were sitting here doing, if you transport us down to Cincinnati, we're doing Bengals Daily today. Can you imagine, trying to sell that? The 3rd down, just redo it. Actually, we're going to run that back. Wait, what?
So at least they had the video of the guy coming in to try to blow it dead.
It can't get that far.
I'm with you.
It can't get that far.
I thought that was
ridiculous. Outrageous. Absolutely outrageous.
I like when they're like, "Yeah, we're just gonna restart the play," and then Romo's like, "They're going for it," and Nance's like, "Wait, it's back to 3rd down."
Right. They had no one was following what was going on.
Nance kept being like the Gene's territory. He's like, "Well, let me tell you something, Mean Gene.
Yeah.
You need more explanation on this because
and so did Zach Taylor,
and justifiably.
Can you
so.
imagine walking over to you as a head coach and saying, "Here's what we tried to stop it. Nobody could hear his whistle."
And then they get a sack.
So now we're going to give them another series. We're going to give them another down. And then you get the sack, and it's like, well, ball don't lie, right? You got it right. Ball don't lie, except Eli Apple, here's
grabbed.
a hold, first down. Now, it didn't manifest in points.
No, it didn't change anything.
It was very lucky that it didn't. But it did say it was the first. There was the grounding call on Burrow. P. Ryan is in the mix. He's in the mix, though.
This for the record.
That's fine.
I said with Miss K in bed right when that happened, I'm like, that was grounding.
Yeah.
Because if he had just thrown
But hold on. It's the culmination of the incidents that stacks. So there's that. There's Frank Clark taking 3 more steps and shoving Burrow to the ground.
That was close. Yeah, I thought that
was
going to get a
pretty
flag.
Brutal.
The flag that he did call on the Chiefs to be just to be like.
Which one?
On Andrew Wiley for taunting when he's
like. Oh, yeah, that was crazy.
That's 15. That took them out of point range.
Yeah.
That cost the Chiefs that drive.
Yeah, that was absolutely brutal.
They are horrible.
They had on the punt return that put Kansas City in position. There's a block in the back that is just insanity.
Yeah.
On the Mahomes run, everybody's holding.
The Hoff took umbrage with that, by the way.
He said nobody's holding.
He said that was not holding.
Well, he's an offensive lineman.
He said he actually got. I'll quote him. This is not a hold. Get over yourself if you think it was because this gets called only in high school, but it's not within the bounds of what is considered holding in the NFL because the hands were inside the framework of the defensive end cylinder and the feet were not beat. Now, I think the hold, if there was a hold that happened, it happened in the middle. Yeah. It happened on B.J. Hill. But people are saying that either Hendrickson or Hubbard got held on the outside. No. The Hoff was not having it.
Not having it. And then you get the roughing at the end on the run out of bounds. And look,
you knew that was getting called.
As soon as it happened, I knew it was roughing. It's obvious.
And I feel so bad for the kid.
But it's also, we saw it with the Eric Armstead play last week in Dallas where nobody knows what to do with these quarterbacks. Yeah. And Mahomes is running, and you're like, is he going to keep running? Can I hit him? What do I do? And you're going 1,000 miles an hour, and you extend arms to push him out of bounds, and all of a sudden he's already out of bounds, and you're supposed to hold up. And, yeah, you are. It's roughing. It's brutal.
That one you just need to know that, he had to go out of bounds. And it's going to go to overtime, you can't do anything.
You don't, and he turns it up and takes 4 more steps, and you're like, what do I do? Because that's what Armstead did last week. Remember that?
Chest bumped him
in
the
end zone.
He
chest bumped him because he didn't want to tackle him and hurt him and get the roughing.
No, he's out of the pocket.
All he had to do was tackle him.
I know.
Like nobody's going to do these quarterbacks.
No,
it was brutal. I mean, it's just a tough spot.
I think that
it felt like every bad call, except for the one that you mentioned on the ridiculous taunting, it felt like every call of consequence went against Cincinnati in the fourth. And I'm not conspiracy guy. Doesn't matter the NFL if it's Burrow or Mahomes. Mahomes is the biggest star in the league. Burrow's 1A. Like they're right there.
It'd behoove them to make a new star. You have a new Super Bowl champion if Burrow made it.
Right. So it doesn't. It's not. I'm not conspiracy guy. I don't think anybody got jobbed. It's not that at all. But I understand where if you are on the Bengals side of things this morning, going like, wow, that's a lot that went against us.
The biggest problem in the NFL right now, and as it relates to officiating, is that the team that loses in a close game, it feels like every game the team that loses will feel like they got jobbed by the officials at some point.
Yeah.
Because the officials are jobbing both teams pretty much on the reg every single week. Yeah. The officiating, given that you've got all the guys on the field, you got 4 dudes on each sideline now working things, and then you have the officiating in the Eagles-Niners game. And it's different too. I feel like you were watching the second game much more through a Bengals lens. You love the Bengals.
I had the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. I just watched
the Bengals in this one.
No. But I mean at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
I just mean I watched it more close. I wasn't in the car for some of it.
Sure.
And honestly, once the Niners game, it was 21-7 with no quarterbacks. I'm out.
I'm just saying, watching that game more through a Niners lens, I was like, oh, the Niners are getting hosed. But I really feel like every fan base that watches every game in the NFL feels like their team is getting hosed by the officials every week. And that's a problem.
Yeah.
They've got to be made full-time. They've got to be
a sky judge right now.
It's clearly they have it.
Of course, because to your point earlier, they can get it right in a second when they want
to. The application of it is mind-boggling because
this is it. This isn't hard. Referees full-time, pay them handsomely, but hold them accountable. If they screw up, they're done. Demote them. That's it. Just like a player. It doesn't get his job done. They're cut. That's it. And employ a sky judge. And that should be one man with a bank full of televisions for every NFL game every Sunday. That's it.
The bottom line
this isn't hard.
No. We shouldn't be talking about the officials.
No, and we are. And it's not just us. That's all anybody's talking about.
Yeah.
Last night and into today, you blew it, boy. And it's brutal from that sense because that game, that AFC Championship game, was an awesome game. It wasn't a cleanly played game, but it was edge of your seat the whole way. Kansas City was down 3 receivers. I don't even know who the hell those guys were.
3 receivers, their number 1 corner, starting
brutalized.
Linebacker, brutalized.
Yeah.
Mahomes was not 100%. Kelsey wasn't 100%.
No. Cincinnati's playing without 2 offensive linemen. Chris Jones, we should be talking about Chris Jones. He was unblockable.
Unbelievable. He ruined the game.
Right.
He wrecked the game.
Wrecked it. Absolutely wrecked it. Anarumo had a good plan for Mahomes. I mean, it was.
If you're a Bengals fan, the reality that you do not want to confront is that you had the ball twice in the fourth quarter with a chance to win. You threw an interception and had a punt.
Yeah.
That's all you could have asked for.
Well, and the timeout, I hate doing it because I think in the moment, Zach Taylor's still trying to go win the game, but they take the timeout with 48 seconds, which forces them to have to punt it to Mahomes, whereas
I'll be honest,
they let it run, then they don't ever get the ball back.
Kansas City would take the timeout.
Right, but then they're
out. Yeah, no, absolutely.
I
think that they should. Yeah. You're 100% right.
Yeah. So that was.
I thought Kansas City punting was insane.
Oh, I couldn't believe that either. I couldn't believe it.
Here's the thing.
I would never. Tell me, when they punt that and Cincinnati gets it, I said, well, Burrow's going to go get
I said
3.
it's over. I said
Yeah.
it's a losing play.
Yeah.
I said not only that, I felt like for what you just outlined, if you're Kansas City, you needed to win it right there. You needed Mahomes to make a play on a 4th down. You run out the clock, you kick a field goal, and you win it. Going to overtime, a real overtime, doesn't benefit the Chiefs. They were wounded. Like, that game was going Cincinnati's way. Yeah. And the interception Burrow throws turns out to be just like a punt, so it was fine. It was on a 3rd down. But and the first one didn't cost them. They get no points. And I thought that was actually going to be the ultimate turning point of the game, is that they had a chance to get it and score and really go up. Instead, the Chiefs don't at the end of the first half, and then the Bengals get 3.
Right.
Now, they held them to 3, which was good, but that was a 6-point swing where it could have been 16-3, and instead it was 13-6. But nonetheless, I thought Reed punting was nuts. If I was a Bengals fan, I would obviously be upset about the officiating, but I would also feel like we had the ball.
Yeah.
And we got that grounding, whether you think it was a bad call or not. You got a first down on the very next play to Hayden Hurst on a blown coverage by Kansas City.
Yeah.
And then still we're not able to capitalize on it. Wild game. I will say, watching it, and I like Burrow. I find him very likable. I like the way he plays the game. Love watching him. I'm a T. Higgins guy from fantasy, and I think it's cool watching him. Like, just throw it up there. And that guy was actually like in great position, but the ball was just up there.
High-pointed it.
And
Joe
he
throws a great fade.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, he threw a couple. There were some dimes in this game by both guys.
Yeah.
Mahomes' touchdown to Valdez-Scantling off balance on one foot in a crowd of people was an absolute.
I didn't know how I was going to get through.
It was a laser.
It was impossible it would get through that. Yeah.
Unbelievable. So there was big time play. Maybe 4th down, you throw a bomb to Chase.
Yeah. Like, he just elevates between 2 people and
double
goes and
coverage
gets it.
and gets it.
Yeah. They have those teams have so many weapons.
They're just not going to be able to. They're not going to be able to keep it. That's going to be the hard part for Cincinnati is
they can't. You put all your money in 2 receivers and a quarterback.
You can't do it.
Can't do it.
You can't do it. But yeah, it's a shame that the officials announced it. I thought that some of the coaching was nuts. Like Andy Reid in timeouts. Like they just didn't have timeouts because the first half he used all 3 on like nonsense.
And he used 2 challenges.
Yeah, which was that was a good challenge. Turns out
first one wasn't.
Well, we talked about that was thing or not a thing.
Thing or not a thing. Yeah. It's crazy.
So
Burrow, go.
So good. What I was going to say is I like Burrow. I like Chase. I like a lot of the guys on that defense. I liked watching them play. I like the unis look great. Yeah. I like the Bengals. I thought that the Burrowhead stuff and Eli Apple's just entire operation.
He's so unlikable. Yeah.
That I enjoyed the fact that the Chiefs won, and I enjoyed that Kelsey goes on there and goes, Burrowhead my butt, and then tells the mayor of Cincinnati's video is one of the most all-time idiotic, just cringy.
Yeah.
And it was cringy. It wasn't even funny. Like, if he could have done it as like a
yeah.
wrestling promo, it could have been kind of funny. Awful. Horrific.
It's awful.
Paternity test? No. Turns out not his dad.
No. Stupid.
And then for Mahomes, for Kelsey to cut a rock promo, know your role, shut your mouth, jabroni, was unbelievable. So I liked it. Kelsey's a Cleveland guy.
Yeah, it was
baller. Cool. You get Kelsey versus Kelsey. That's cool. But the Bengals made themselves, and not at the fault of 95%, but it just goes to the 1 or 2 bad apples can spoil the whole bunch. They were kind of like the heels to me in that game. And so I
don't have a problem with that.
I was kind of rooting for the baby faces, the injured Mahomes and the injured Kelsey, and they're down.
I don't know.
People.
I don't know. Could you tell from the broadcast that Mahomes was hurt? I didn't know that they talked about it. Did they discuss it at all? Was it ever brought up? I didn't know. So when you just said he was hurt, I didn't realize that he was hurt. I didn't know he was against odds.
He was against.
I didn't notice that. I'm sorry. I wish they would have made that more clear on the telecast, because that would have been
useful,
that was important
information for you
that Mahomes was injured, because I would not have known. No, I think they were. They were. They lean into that, and Burrow to this point. Now, I will say this. I think it's nonsensical to think that you would need extra motivation to play in an AFC championship.
But it mattered, clearly.
But it's something that afterwards you love. Like, Travis Kelce's not playing any harder because the mayor of Cincinnati's an idiot. It's an AFC championship game. He's a pro. He's going to play. They're all going as hard as they can. But at the end, you do keep receipts. And they were really thrilled to be able to do it. And I do think that up until this point, Burrow has been able to thread the needle on sure of himself but not cocky. Now, a lot of this doesn't have anything to do with him.
Nothing to do with him, in my opinion.
This has nothing to do with him. The Burrowhead stuff, none of that. Like, that's all
defense.
Nonsense.
It's all the defense.
Yeah, it's not his. But they do have to own that now. I would also say this. When you look at you're watching those two last night, and you're saying to yourself, God, that's a hell of a standard that those two teams have. And you think about the snake pit that is this conference and what Buffalo, Jacksonville, Chargers, hopefully us, what we're all chasing after to try to stop that from being an annual occurrence. Chiefs, Bengals, AFC Championship game. It had the feel of Manning Brady, like that we're going to see him. I mean, this is Mahomes is going to his third Super Bowl in 4 years. Back-to-back AFC Championship game with these two teams involved. Like, there's challenges for everybody. You got to navigate cap, all of it. But, wow, the standard that they have put themselves in is pretty high.
Yeah, and here's the thing. We've beaten the Bengals.
Oh, I know.
Repeatedly, and we certainly should have beaten the Chiefs last year.
Yep.
Maybe even in both games in 2020.
Yep.
Or at the end of 2020. It's it's an unbelievable standard, and you mentioned the other teams. The AFC is going to be just bonkers. And it's fun. It's fun. That was fun. I like that there was pressure. Again, if you're a Bengals fan, don't say nothing about the intentional grounding. That, like, pretty much everybody is in agreement that it was intentional grounding. Now people are upset about it, but you overcame it. If you would say, okay, Burrow's got the ball now, because after the pass to Hurst, you're out at like the 30.
I think even further. I thought they were in the mix, 30 and 35. Somewhere in there, yeah.
And you have the ball right there with Joe Burrow.
And timeouts. You're gonna go pick up the yardage,
and they did not. Like,
he missed.
And Mahomes missed one throw on a third down on the cross. Yeah, Valdez-Scantling.
He actually had him or Kelsey. They both are running it different, and he missed him. I wonder if he, like, split second switched to who he's going to throw to,
and missed it.
It. Burrow missed one too. It was really high level. It was really high level.
It was fun to watch, and it was tense, and it mattered.
It did.
And Chris Jones is what everybody should be talking about. Chris Jones turned in one of those, like, Aaron Donald, how he wrecked the end of the Super Bowl.
Yep.
That's what Chris Jones did. Without Chris Jones, yeah.
All right, coming up next, one of our guys has been named to the Pro Bowl roster. We will get you the update on that. There's a lot to continue to react to here around the NFL. Some interesting hirings and firings on the coaching side of things. We're not done with the championship games either.
No, just getting started.
Off and running on a Reaction Monday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Elk Serious Lawyers, Serious Injuries. Call 1-800-ELK Ohio for a free case review. Elk & Elk's a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Wyatt Teller has been named to the Pro Bowl for the second consecutive year, replaces Kansas City's Joe Thuney at that position at guard. So good job, Wyatt.
Yeah, so Wyatt joins, obviously, Nick Chubb, Myles Garrett, Joel Bitonio. The Browns having 4 representatives in the Pro Bowl, 3 on offense, and that quartet all made it last year, too. So pretty good.
I wonder, I was trying to think of, because obviously we missed postseason the last 2 years, and yet we have 4 Pro Bowl guys back-to-back years. That's a lot of Pro Bowlers.
Yeah.
Usually that correlates.
Yeah.
Where it goes both ways. So, good job for them. This is
we
this
had a year,
weekend?
I want to say my first year here.
It was a year we had 6,
2013.
Right?
We went 4-12 and sent 6 to the Pro Bowl.
What was the tight end?
It was Joe Thomas, Jordan Cameron, Joe Hayden, Josh Gordon, TJ Ward. There's got to be one more that I'm missing. I have the helmet.
Yeah.
I'll have to go peruse those signatures.
So this is this weekend, right? Is the Pro Bowl? This is the Mannings, Manning versus Manning, and it's not a game. It's just activities.
There's a flag game, but it's a lot of activities.
A lot of activities.
Yeah,
there's a lot of activity. I don't know if we'll have time. How do you think this does? I bet it struggles. I bet it's worse than the game. I bet we're back to a game next year.
Alex Mack was the 4th.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Joe Thomas, Josh Gordon, Jordan Cameron, Alex Mack, Joe Hayden, TJ Ward. That's unbelievable.
I bet the ratings are bad, and I bet they're back to a game next year.
You think?
Yeah.
I think with all these ads
I think it's
with
all
the Mannings and all the
Mannings are great. It's fine, but I think that people like to watch games, and they're not going to understand what's going on. Like if you're and still a vast majority of people flip, and you see Pro Bowl, and you flip it on, and there's 11 on 11, and it looks like football.
You'll watch it.
You'll watch. You'll be pulled into it. Versus, what are we doing? This is dodgeball or
drive contest,
whatever. I just think it's going to be. They're great. Who's the MC? Are they MCing it? Who's hosting it?
I don't know. I think them.
I'm not sure if there is an MC. I mean, they should turn it into the Saturday night All-Star game stuff that TNT does during All-Star weekend.
Guys, you still need to do that. Don't you remember that with the quarterback competition when they would do the longest throw and the accuracy
and the
stuff
and stuff?
Marino would throw it 1,000 yards and hit a bullseye from 60 yards away, moving target, all that stuff. They've done that.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I like that stuff a little bit.
Looks great, by the way. When I see a clean one,
it's clean, crisp. Nana tried. Yeah,
yeoman's effort.
It's not the same as the official teaching pro though. It's a different level. I don't know. We'll see.
He just received an award, by the way, for growing and helping grow the game.
You probably found that on Instagram, which mine is hacked still.
Well, yeah, dude, it's done.
I don't know. My guy from I told you that, right? What my guy from Facebook's doing.
You just told me that he was in the mix. What did he?
Well, I finally got a hold of him, or maybe I don't remember when this was Thursday night or whatever. When I told it was hacked, and he goes, this is now my number one priority. Forget global partnerships, global sports partnership development. I'm out. That's going on the back burner. I'm going to fix your account. I like that intensity.
I believe that he's thinking about it the right way.
I told him, I said, well, this can be, because when he went to business school, I had to write all these recommendations to Ivy League schools for him, 6 of them. I'm like, well, now we're even. If you can get this back, then that's a wash for me writing letters of recommendations to Columbia.
Yeah.
So the Pro Bowl, the skills competition takes place Thursday at 7 p.m.
So what are we getting Sunday?
The Pro Bowl will take place Sunday, February 5th at 3 p.m.
What is it?
The Pro Bowl will be simulcast on ESPN, ABC, and Disney.
Okay.
But, is the skills live, or is that going to be taped and replayed, as part of Sunday's stuff?
I don't know. There's not much that's going to get me to remember that that's on Thursday. It doesn't seem likely to me that I'm not going to be looking for that on Thursday night. Yeah, that's tough. So they must be. So the flag game is on. Are they going to? Is it 7-on-7? Or are they going to have blockers?
No, I think it's 7-on-7, and I think it counts for a great. I think it's a little bit more weighted. I believe. I could be wrong, but I believe that's true.
See, nobody even knows. It's going to happen this week. We didn't know when we do this. We are in the business of the National Football League. We do not know when it's airing or what it is.
Correct.
That's a bit of a problem.
I know there's a long drive contest. I'm here for that.
Like golf?
Yeah.
So that'll be Thursday probably.
Yeah.
I'm like going through, like ESPN's brought in like everybody.
You know what I like? You know what, of all this type of nonsense that I like the most, since we haven't had like a real dunk contest in 20 years. Haven't had a real 3-point contest in a really long. Well, 3-point contest is pretty good. I guess a lot of the dudes still do that. I love it. Give me a rock and jock, baby.
Oh God, loved rock. And
Give me a rock and jock.
When you get
rock and jock, anything. A rock and jock hoops where all of a sudden it's
throw
like
up a 40-pointer.
you see who's good or not, and it's like, wow, this dude is the least athletic human on the planet. It always made you see like a Frankie Muniz would take it pretty seriously.
You know what I like?
All of a sudden he's going to be a dude. There was a video over the weekend that showed a rock and jock where Kenny Rogers hit a little pump fake. Michael Jordan flies by, and the gambler hit a 3.
Oh, my God.
With full beard, the gambler.
Hold on.
Oh, my God. No one to hold him, no one to show him.
When were like the days, though, where you would get, and I want to say Dion was in one, Michael Irvin.
That's the Foot Locker Slam Fest.
Yes.
Foot Locker Slam
Bring
Dunk
that
Contest.
Back. Where's that at?
So Mike Conley Sr., who was the Olympic long jumper, he was always in the finals. Like, he would win it consistently. Prime was in it. Irv could get up. Yeah, that was fun. I like that.
Bring that back.
That was fun.
That should be a part of this.
I have the ESPN lineup.
Give it to me.
Yeah. They should have a 3-point contest and a dunk contest. These guys all play
Marcus Spears and Laura Rutledge will be the voices of the skills competition.
Who was the first one? Rutledge, Spears, and who?
RG3.
Okay. You got to put a comedian in there.
Yeah.
You needed to have a comedian.
Former Pro Bowl player Ryan Clark, NFL vet Dan Orlovsky will also be part of the first night with Clark as a roaming commentator. Orlovsky will host the longest drive. Now, for the 7-on-7, which ESPN's got a nice 3-hour block for that on Sunday.
That's going to do nothing.
What is that all about?
No one wants to watch that.
Now, I will give you a reason to watch.
State of Ohio should play 7-on-7 football. They should have more football in the state. It's a story for another day. But no one wants to watch
the announcing team for this,
all right,
Kirk Herbstreit and Pat McAfee.
Well, I don't know why Herbie would be involved. I get the McAfee part of it. I know Herbie and McAfee are tight. I think Herbie's son interned with McAfee, and Herbie's the reason McAfee ended up on game day. But which was always funny is this football season when people will be, I don't think Herbstreit likes McAfee. I'm like, no, I promise you, he likes him quite a bit. It feels like they would need another dude in that too, though.
You almost need a little traffic cop, I feel like.
Yeah, you need a point guard.
Snoop Dogg is the captain for the AFC team, so him and McAfee together could be good.
Mr. Dog.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Pete Davidson for the NFC.
Okay.
I feel like we could have done a little better there, but I don't know.
Pete Davidson.
It's like
okay, hold on. Let me write it down before you say it.
There's only two others.
Hold on.
That are this type of. Well, there's
there's only one other that is shocking as the Pete Davidson one, in my opinion, in terms of
Duritz. Yeah.
That's right.
That's ridiculous.
Still hard to believe.
He went from Cox to Anderson or Anderson to Cox in their prime, one to the next, and they both were still on the show.
That's right.
And they're still friends. And he did that. Yeah.
Again.
And Mr. Jones, a hell of a tune, man.
Long December.
It's a hell of a tune.
It is great. He's great music, but it's not. He doesn't look like your classic rock Lothario.
Not.
Right.
No,
this isn't Tommy Lee we're talking about.
No. Not
Maybe
in any way. Maybe it is. Around the NFL, Chargers expected to hire
Kellen Moore.
Yes, Kellen Moore.
Important. It's important. Herman.
Lou Moore. Kellen Moore for their offensive coordinator vacancy. This was after he parted ways. The Cowboys parted ways with Moore. Remember we had that, how they had fired all those assistants? It does feel kind of like if you want me to make dinner, I'm going to need to buy the groceries from McCarthy to Jarrah. But now you're on a very, very slippery slope with McCarthy. You got 1 year, you're done, I would think.
Why do you even... There were a couple people around the Cowboys organization, like former Cowboys and people who covered, who just said to Cowboys fans, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to help Herbert. I'm not sure that this takes care of this offense.
I don't know. I think Kellen Moore is pretty good. They traded away a star receiver.
They were pretty damn good the year that they had
everybody.
Amari, CD, Gallup, Zeke, Pollard,
Schultz.
tight end Schultz, Dak. Before Dak got hurt, they were 40-some points a game.
Yeah, they were the number one scoring offense, I think, ever.
Yeah, so I think, I mean, it'll be better off than what they were. Now,
Way better.
Their problem is just Staley's game management.
Yes.
Which
Whatever
that
that is,
can't fix this.
Correct.
Or this won't fix that. The bigger issue is Dallas. I mean, you watch, you're Jera, and you think, all right, in my division, a team just got back to the Super Bowl for the second time in 6 years with a new coach and a new quarterback in the time that I haven't been back since 95. Like, I've had the quarterback that I thought was good enough. These guys have done it with 2 different quarterbacks and 2 different head coaches in 6 years. What happened?
The G-men feel like they could either Danny Dimes is becoming something, or they could drop a quarterback in there and they could be formidable. The Commanders need a quarterback, but
that's it.
They could be formidable.
They'll have a new name soon. Dolphins.
Is that a spoiler? I'd love it to be true.
No, I think it has to be. I don't know why you would. Why would you keep commies? Like, you're not tied to it. The fan base hates it. It's Snyder's nonsense.
I mean, and then
you're out. You only have 4 more years anyway.
And then Major Tutty.
Yeah, get rid of all that
guy's
nonsense.
a debacle.
Yeah,
nightmare fuel.
get it sorted out.
Tutty.
I mean, that's all you got to do.
Red Hogs. You're welcome.
Done.
We'll take
Script R on the hat.
We'll take
old
1%,
uniforms.
1%
That's it.
of all sales proceeds of Red
That's
Hogs
it.
merch.
It's not hard. This is a hire, I think, that will pay immediate dividends. The Dolphins hired Vic Fangio to be their defensive coordinator. That is, I mean, you want to talk about giving McDaniel a chance to succeed. That's as good as it gets.
Now,
elite and veteran.
That might not be the case.
Why? What happened? You have breaking news over there, Gibbe.
Mike Silver is disputing it, and his source is Vic Fangio.
Well, so what
What
they
did he
saying?
say?
He's out?
So
here's what I had heard. What I heard was Fangio wanted and was going to go with Peyton, and so that people were reading in the fact that Fangio took a DC job, or as Pelissero reported, that meant that Peyton was out, but that Fangio is not necessarily going to Miami, and that this might not be true, which is now what Gibbe's saying.
So Mike Silver is saying, for what it's worth, Vic Fangio told me last night, and this is 11:30 this morning, 11:50 this morning. Nothing has been decided on my end. There is a huge amount of mutual respect between Shanahan and Fangio, a highly successful Niners DC under Jim Harbaugh. It appears the 49ers might have that opening soon.
So Ryans goes to the Texans, and then Fangio would go to San Francisco.
Potentially.
With Kyle.
That'd be a power.
Who's quarterback in the Niners next year? Brady?
I don't know. I don't think.
All that yucking it up with your boy, maybe.
You think Purdy's just out now?
I don't know. If gave you the option, wouldn't you roll with Brady for a year?
I don't know.
With McCaffrey and Debo and Kittle? And
It just depends on what it did to the rest of my operation.
Yeah.
Money-wise. Like, I can't have everybody. And I'm not sure that he's not cooked a little.
He might be. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though. Fangio and Shanahan, that sounds formidable.
Yes, it does. All right, Ryan Nielsen, the defensive coordinator with the Falcons, as he gets that job. Did we see the Empire State Building lit up green and white to support the Eagles? Yes, we did. Curious choice, although they went viral.
Why?
Maybe they
in
did.
New
Did
York
you-
City,
well,
that's like us
I
lighting
agree.
up the Terminal Tower gold and black for the Squealers.
Well, I don't know, what is New York's, is Boston because of the Red Sox? They hate them the most? Or is it Philly? Like, who's New York's rival? New York would say we
they're
have
in
no
the same
rivals.
division.
No, I get it. I just think I didn't even know the Empire State Building had a Twitter account until yesterday.
Same. Boston, though, you had the Jets. And then you had the Red Sox Yankees. You had the Jets Pats
Just Pat, yeah.
for a while.
Well, Celtics Knicks too. It's got to be Boston.
Fortunately, the Knicks have.
No, they've sucked. But
Not-
and the Jets Pats hasn't been much of one either. But I mean,
They'll go back to Sanchez. Rex
go
Ryan.
way back.
Yeah, well back.
Yeah. I did see that. I thought it was a curious choice, but I think if you're trying to go viral, it probably worked.
Yeah.
We will do one thought, one game ball, one goat from each game of Championship Sunday coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Valley Bet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. And today through midnight, February 9th, head to NFL.com/FedEx, the NFL's official Twitter handle, or the NFL mobile app to cast your vote for Nick Chubb as a FedEx Ground Player of the Year. The 2022 FedEx Air and Ground NFL Players of the Year will be announced during the NFL Honors on February 9th. All right, Gibby, you want one thought, one game ball, one GOAT from the championship games?
Well, we gave 30 minutes of thoughts, so
we gave a lot.
we'll round that up.
Yeah.
We still got more, though.
Forget
I
it.
got
have a
more.
lot more I can go to.
Well,
here.
I figured that's why we devoted this show today to
Yeah, let's have
got
some
more.
fun. What do we got?
Segura's airing of the grievances.
Yeah.
There were several. My one thought from Philly and San Francisco is the thing that I came away with was I remember when they showed up here in camp and we were standing out there, and it's not often you hear the phrase all the time like, well, they won when they got off the bus. They literally did. When we saw them walk out, we went, well, that's quite impressive on the offense and defensive line. And we have dudes on our offense and defensive line, but they were on another level. And we just said, well, can Jalen Hurts play? That's it. Everything else they've got. Just do they have that? And they do.
Their 6th and 7th linemen, and
Oh,
maybe
my
7th
God.
or 8th, are Jordan Davis and Ndamukong Suh, who turns out when he plays reduced snaps and gets to go nuts on every single play,
Yeah.
is unbelievable.
Yep.
Still, he's
Yep.
gonna play for a Super Bowl with his 3rd team now. Yeah, the one thought is, this is a travesty.
Travis.
This is a travesty.
Yeah, it
This
sucks.
is not what this game was supposed to. This wasn't a competitive game.
No.
You
Can we
got a
just
better
play
game.
McCaffrey at quarterback? Just to
I
at
thought
least
you-
give the thought.
None of it would have mattered.
It didn't matter. The game was
Once
over.
you cannot throw the ball down the field, it's over. At that point,
Now,
it's
they
done.
couldn't throw it 5 yards.
At that point, it's over. So there's nothing.
There's
that
not
you
a
can
wide
do.
receiver that played quarterback. There's no one else on the team
You're
at that
done.
point
You're
that has
done.
any quarterback
But it's
experience
like
that
they've
could have
read
played.
a defense. Like, you saw what happened in Denver when they threw that, like, Kendall Hinton kid out there. Like, it was a complete
seen-
debacle.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it was
Okay,
like. It
well,
was that type
I mean,
of level. Like it
we're
was
on the same level.
I don't think they scored. I mean,
No, like McCaffrey can probably throw a ball 60 yards. I'm sure he can, but he doesn't know what the hell he's doing in terms of playing quarterback in the league.
Right.
Like it just sucked. It just sucked because you didn't get the game. You didn't get the game.
Is there a GOAT?
Negative or positive connotation?
Negative.
The NFL.
Yeah.
The NFL for not allowing for 3 quarterbacks to be active, and you can say, well, this never happens.
I don't think the Niners have another quarterback, though. That's the crazy.
Well, then they would have I mean, they would have though.
Yeah.
If they could have carried 3, they would have. Like you should.
This could have been my Hollywood moment.
This could.
I come out
Can you imagine?
wearing a number 16.
What if 16 came out himself?
Oh, my God.
Like a 60-some
Could
year
you
old Joe
imagine?
Montana came out there and
What
started
if he just,
slinging
like-
it around.
Oh, my God.
And then afterwards went with the monkey.
Yeah, did you see that?
You boy. Did I see it?
warming up.
Get
Get out of here.
Would have
Nobody's
been just
calling for
fine.
that.
Would have been just fine.
Jeez Louise. Like, if you ask 49er fans, you could have one quarterback from our past, like,
Yeah.
come back in to take this game over. It's a landslide, Joe Montana.
correct.
Correct.
Come on.
Right.
This is stupid.
You know,
Even I know that.
right. Yeah.
Even
come on.
even full of hate Gibbe,
yeah.
who likes to just rain on my parades, is like, no,
Yeah.
no, this parade will have
One
some.
game ball for that one. Give it to Howie Roseman. That's a hell of a roster he's redone in 6 years. It's incredible.
So
Fired a coach.
Yo.
got a new quarterback.
dominates a power struggle. Like,
Yeah.
just, it's like, no, I'm the man.
Actually, I'm going to run it.
I'm the man.
Yep.
And look at what I've built here.
Yep.
I mean, they've got to be the favorites. I know that it opened with we don't need to do a guest line Super Bowl line, like you can't help but see
Right.
it. So I know they opened as the Chiefs opened as favorites because they're the Chiefs, and then it's like no. There's already been, I think there was a 4-point middle if you got it early. Already.
Well, the other thing that's kind of wild about it, though, like with Philly, and I only half believe this. It's part of it's just shtick. I think everybody can kind of understand that. But like, Philly doesn't have to play the Niners to get to the Super Bowl. Like
no, they just went straight. They played
beat
one
the
playoff
Giants,
game.
They beat the Giants,
Yep.
and they beat the Niners.
They
and
beat
now
us.
And now they're in a Super Bowl.
They'd be like me and you out there.
What?
Although
Like,
I still think
that's your road.
We could
Like they
completed
can
a
both
pass.
be really, really good, and it's the easiest path anyone's ever
They're
had
loaded.
to the Super Bowl.
They are loaded. Easiest path to a Super Bowl ever.
Never had to chase a game.
That's the question. If the Chiefs, who are Super Bowl tested, get up on them, what does that look like? If they don't, Chiefs can still come back, but the Eagles are
Yeah,
they're pretty darn good.
they are.
Jalen Hurts getting so low for every snap, it still cracks me up in the shotgun. It makes me laugh every time, but he's so good and explosive. And by the way, he still missed, like, that's the thing. He had a couple deep balls that if he hits would have been A.J. Brown, like 80-yard touchdowns.
Yeah.
By the way, Gibbe.
Yes.
Tacos al pastor.
Yeah, it's done.
Wait, my quarterback's still in it.
Give it.
I'm still in it. You're saying there's a chance.
No, I'm not saying there's a chance.
Yes, there's
no chance.
That's all you've got, and you're down like 100 points, and he's got Kelsey.
I've got Kelsey.
I've got 2 Eagles, including Miles Sanders, who scored 2 touchdowns last week.
Right. Mahomes ain't scoring.
Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor?
No, but we don't have those non-participants in that historical event non-participating again.
No.
No. You're toast, brother.
No. Sorry, Gibbe.
Sorry, Gibbe.
Sad.
You're going to win it, I would think. If the Bengals had won, I had a good chance to win it.
Yeah.
That was the...
Well, the Kelsey pick ends up saving me because my Niner guys are all done.
Yeah.
I had a ton of them.
Yeah, you did.
McCaffrey's, Debo.
And McCaffrey, Debo, yeah. I had Kittle.
Yeah.
All I have left are my Eagles.
Yeah.
But I got some nice stuff from Joey B.
Yep.
Bengals and Chiefs. Game ball.
Chris Jones is the game ball.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, he was unbelievable. And for all of the nonsense around like Romo with the, my God, he did the most stupid Drexler Jordan thing.
Oh, my God. What
that was
was
an
that
embarrassment.
from?
Like,
What
I
is
love
he doing?
I love when we relitigate history. We're all old enough to remember Drexler Jordan. There wasn't a single soul on the planet who thought Clyde Drexler was better than Michael Jordan. Not
Never.
one.
It was
Nobody.
never even a discussion
That was
if
not
they
a
were on the
discussion.
same level.
Now, Jordan maybe found some writer for the Oregonian who wrote it, and then he said, I took that personally. But there wasn't anybody else in the sport of basketball in the early 90s who was like, I don't know, it's close. No.
Clyde Drexler was really, really
He was a
good.
really nice player. He wasn't in the vicinity of Jordan. Vicinity.
Was he?
A joke.
He wasn't even on the Dream Team.
He was.
He was on the second. Yeah.
No, he was on the first.
He was on the 1st. So he was really good, but he wasn't like he was
a really
never in
good
the
player,
discussion.
but nobody was
Yeah.
going like so to compare.
That's, by the way, that tells you everything you know right there. Is I've watched all those documentaries. I didn't even remember he was on the Dream. He wasn't even a player. He was like a non-factor on the Dream Team.
No. The only reason that he was in that documentary because Jordan like went at him.
Yeah.
And Magic's like, Clyde, come with me, and so that led with that legendary Monaco
Great,
games.
yeah.
But yeah, no, that was so like his analogy was off, and despite all the point I was making though is Mahomes was going through a lot and he played his ass off. Like,
And by the way, you saw him dig deep on that last run to get the Jets. 'Cause there were a few where he tried to slide through the pocket and he couldn't do it.
No, he was like, well, yeah. In fact, just the drive before he
Yeah,
tried
on
to
a third
slide
down.
through and he couldn't. But on that one, like that
like,
was
I'm
for
going.
the season, I'm going. It's one of those things that I'm sure when you have an injury like that, once you start running, like you've got, if you can't stop, you got to go through it and just deal with it. And he did.
I'm glad that Osai guy's okay. First of all, emotionally very difficult for him, but like it looked like his leg exploded on the sideline when he tried to stop it.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like
Small
that's the case.
sidelines in Kansas City, narrow, looked like it. Felt like those bleachers were right there.
Well, that was to the team bench.
Right, I know, but it felt like it was not a lot of space between team.
I do
bench
think
and
I remember saying
like
that
tight.
when we were there. That it was they're right on the field.
It was
Yeah,
tight.
the fans
Yeah.
are on top of you. The locker rooms, even tighter.
Are they?
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
I love that place. So I mean, it's awesome.
Awesome.
GOAT, referees.
Yeah, just bad luck. I don't think they got screwed. You can't blame it on them. It just
No,
was
the
whole
Bengals
thing
lost the
was-
game. But
for sure. But it was just a tough fourth quarter.
You gotta say the poor kid. Come on.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's
It's one of those ones where like you wish that there was like a spirit of the law. Like he's not malicious. He's not trying to hurt. He clearly just lost place of where he was on the field.
fine. Yeah.
It sucks, man.
I know,
It's
but when
brutal.
you
It's a
push-
right call. I'm not suggesting it. I understand all of it. I'm just saying, like, geez, that's how we're going to decide the AFC because we screwed that because some made a boneheaded play. It sucks. Sucks for him.
Listen, it was very possible that we were going to be saying that the Chiefs lost the AFC Championship game because Patrick Mahomes just like dropped the
snap.
ball.
Oh yeah, it can happen to anybody.
Tried to throw a pass and the ball just went up in the air and
Yeah.
then bounced funny and he never got it back.
Yeah, no, it's wild.
That was wild.
It was. All right, positional breakdowns for us coming up next. We'll hit the offensive tackle position. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Bally Bet. Coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Cleveland Browns help your favorite four-legged companion. Barking Backers presented by Milk Bones, the Browns' newest club for pet parents worldwide. Sign up today at barkingbackers.com. Barking Backers, the fan club for dogs. Time for our off-season positional breakdown, and today we center on the offensive tackle position. On the roster, Jack Conklin, who just signed a 4-year contract extension. James Hudson, Jedrick Wills as well. Both are unrestricted free agents after the 2025 season. Chris Hubbard is a free agent now.
Thank you for noting that.
Tyrone Wheatley and there as well. Joe Haig on the reserve future list. I'm going to be real clear. I just think this is about Jed Wills. He was a first-round draft pick, and after a very promising rookie year, the consistency that you want to see, there's times when it flashes great, but the consistency is not the way that you needed it to be when you draft somebody that high.
No, I think you're right. And I think that, for Jed Wills, as you sit there and you look to your other tackle mate as a 2-time first-team All-Pro. You look next to you, your left guard's 5 straight Pro Bowls.
Yep.
A right guard, back-to-back Pro Bowls, a couple times second-team All-Pro. And Bitonio's been first-team All-Pro. Your center, had been so good with J.C. Treader, and then even this year with Ethan Posick. He's the weak link right now in the Browns' offensive line. And I think he's got a ton of potential. He just needs to decide, does he want this to be his life? Does he want this to be his legacy? How bad does he want to be great? The Hoff would be the first to tell you he thinks Jed Wills is more physically gifted than he was. And the Hoff's about to go into Canton on his first ballot because of everything else that it took to be that great. And I think that's the question for Jed Wills. Now you're in your 4th year. You're a guy who's looking to get paid, and his play needs to reflect that. You're in a good spot in the sense that you've got 2 starting tackles and a third who started some games for you, and James Hudson, who played well. He's going into his 3rd year now, and it looks like he's your swing tackle. It's probably the end of Chris Hubbard's run here in Cleveland. You've got some guys that you like, Haig, who's been in the league for a while and been with Pittsburgh, Tyrone Wheatley, who is the son of the great Tyrone Wheatley, who you think of as a developmental guy. It wouldn't surprise me to see the Browns in the draft get another tackle that they feel they can develop, try to find another James Hudson in this one. But that's kind of where you are. You've got your top 3 going into next year. The real question marks for you is Jed Wills. Can Jed Wills be great? Does Jed Wills want to be great?
That's it.
And if yes, can he then execute upon that and be great?
You come to a point, whatever you do in life and whatever your stated profession is, and you have a certain amount of innate athletic ability, you have a certain amount of talent for it, a love for it. And then there comes a point where there's a threshold that you have to burst through if you want to be great. He at times can be really, really great, and he's can be very good and solid. But the consistently great is just not happening. Now, here's the crazy thing: the dude's 23. He's going into his 4th year in the league, and he's 23. So he'll turn 24 in May. So you want to talk about a long way to go. He's got a long way to go age-wise. He was a very young prospect. Like there is a long road if he wants to go that route. And he can make a great living being a left tackle for a long time. But he has it in him to be at a different level. And he's in a draft class with Thomas and Wirfs. Wirfs has been unbelievable. Wirfs was picked after him. How many All-Pros for Tristan Wirfs already?
I think
at least 1, maybe 2.
Yeah. I think that, you look at Jed Wills and you look at his rookie season, Pro Football Focus grade that season was 77.6. That's the best of his career. That year he gave up only 4 sacks, only 20 pressures total. This year, his grade was a little bit better than last year, but not much. He was penalized a lot more this year than he was last year. He gave up more sacks. He gave up a career-high 41 pressures, career-high 6 sacks. His efficiency the last 2 years is not where it was, his first year. And so it hasn't been what you thought. But to your point, in terms of the consistency, he plays a game against Tampa Bay this year that was unbelievable, where he was absolutely elite and dominant. And then you go the next week against Houston, and he gives up 5 pressures and has his lowest grade of the season. Go back to week 5 against the Chargers, who has good pass rushers. Didn't give up a single pressure, second best graded game or third best graded game of the year, and then follows that up the next week against New England, and he gives up a sack and 6 pressures. It just, the consistency hasn't been there. The flashes are there, and that's really, I think, the question for him. It's a question for this line. Like, is he willing to put in the work when he takes the coaching from Bill Callahan, when he gets, advice from a guy like Joe Thomas? Can he take that and apply that to his approach to the game? If the answer ultimately turns out to be yes, he has a chance to be a Pro Bowler. If the answer to that's no, I think he can play in the league for a very long time and probably make a very nice living. Yep. But he'll never be great. And I think that's where the Browns are at right now.
And it was a tackle-loaded draft in which Andrew Thomas was a second-team All-Pro this year. Tristan Wirfs was a second-team All-Pro this year. He was first-team All-Pro last year. So his draft mates have shined as bright as you can shine. Yep. They've been noticed in the league for being elite. Becton even has been solid, hasn't he?
When healthy.
Yeah, when healthy.
I mean, look, Jed has been good. It's the consistency. It's the ability to string good games together, the ability to put together some dominant performances because they're there. We've seen them.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of doing it consistently. Like when we went week 14 to Cincinnati, he didn't allow a single pressure. That was his second best graded game of the year.
Yeah.
And that's a team that can absolutely get after it.
Yes. Yeah. So it's just, do you have that in you?
Week in, week out.
And he's just surrounded by pros. You could not be put in a better position to succeed than the one that he's been put in.
No.
Gibby wants one word to describe our offensive tackles this past season.
Solid.
It's funny. I was going to go there too.
Solid.
Yeah, solid.
Unspectacular. Solid.
Yep. Fact or fiction, the Browns will select an offensive tackle with their second-round pick. Fiction.
I'd like to say fiction, but you never know. It feels like fiction. You got Jed. You just signed Conklin.
But I just think,
so
you need.
That's at least 2 years with starters. If your
second
round pick
needs to be a dude.
Needs to be a contributor.
Yeah, and you can't fill out the defensive line and speed receiver in free agency.
No, it needs to be a defensive tackle or a receiver.
Yeah, someone who can come in and
play,
make an impact and play on the either the defensive line or that could be an edge too, like it.
Sure.
Maybe it is an edge, whatever, an edge or a tackle, whatever.
A pass rusher
or receiver.
Or
speed receiver. Those are the two things that have to be sorted out for this offensive line.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So that's where you are. You're in a good spot at tackle. You'd be in a great spot if Jedrick Wills realizes his talents and his abilities and plays to his full of both. Then you're in a great spot at tackle. We'll take a look at the offseason ahead for the Championship Sunday losers coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Browns Daily brought to you by Ballybet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. The championship game losers, some big questions to be sorted out for both, although the biggest ones don't have to be sorted out for the Bengals just yet. Let's start with them. Unrestricted free agents, most of them on their defense: Jesse Bates, Von Bell, Hayden Hurst, the tight end. Eli Apple will be gone. Jermaine Pratt, Samaje Perine, Drew Sample, and Trey Flowers. So they've got those guys. I do think that for Cincinnati, I think that Burrow is going to be such an attractive drawing. People will want to play with him, and the fact that those receivers are going to be there. They can start working on those extensions if they want to with those guys, all of them, but they don't have to. They can hit your thing.
Hello.
They can wait that out. This is not the offseason.
It's not a crisis, but their window.
They're headed
next,
for it though.
Next year is like they want to have a good run this year. But that's Von Bell, Jesse Bates, Eli Apple. That's 3 of your top 4 defensive backs.
I think they're ready to be done with Eli Apple,
as they should be.
Is be my hunch. They're $44 million under the cap, but they do have the Burrow question going forward. They are. They will have some major decisions to figure out though, with how they're going to do all of this with the 2 receivers and with Burrow.
Yes.
And my guess is they'll go Chase and Burrow and let Higgins walk. And I think that would be a tough spot because Higgins is good.
But he can be a 1 somewhere. I mean, he showed that when Chase was out that he can
for
be a
sure. 1. For sure. It's a embarrassment of riches, right? Can I interest you in somebody with his size that you could just throw the ball up to down the sideline?
Come on down.
That works pretty good. They'll have to redo the safety position, obviously, with Bell and Bates. But they just drafted the kid from Michigan last year. What's his name? Was it
Dax Hill.
Dax Hill out of Michigan. So they do have him in
the first round,
in
right?
there as well. Yeah, into the first round.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they've hit on their picks. That's Vic Tobin down there. He's done a good job. I mean, they've hit on their picks.
They usually have.
Yeah.
Like in the past.
He couldn't play this year because he was struggling in coverage, but he played a little bit in this game.
Yeah. So they are in a pretty good position, and honestly, as long as they have Burrow, they'll be fine. They'll be able to build around it, and they're making strides in the other things too. I mean, I will give them credit for this because they've had franchise quarterbacks before and really haven't done anything to take advantage of it in terms of the way the organization puts its best foot forward. But Katie Blackburn, Mike's daughter, who has a big say in the organization now and is kind of the outward face of it, she really has changed the perception of it. And her daughter Katie does a lot of stuff for them as well. They've done a really nice job. I mean, they're getting an indoor facility finally at long last. They're spending in free agency. They're taking advantage of this Burrow window. Honest to goodness, like if they wanted to do a new stadium, they won't. But now would be the time on the Burrow train. There's no question with him that he could have the type of impact in Cincinnati that Manning had in Indy.
Oh, yeah.
Like you could build a dome if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And there is, I mean, people think I'm talking nonsense about this. I'm telling you, there is a race in this state somewhere to put a dome. Like you want to have events, Super Bowls, Final Fours, concerts, WrestleManias. You want to have Big Ten championship games and college football playoff games. I'm telling you right now, Ohio State Buckeyes are not going to play a college football playoff game at the Shoe. They're not. They're going to go play it at Lucas Oil, unless there's a place in this state to play it. You could do that if somebody builds a dome. It's a race to do it. They're not going to build it in Columbus because they can't do anything with the Shoe. So either Cincinnati or Cleveland. Get one built.
Let's go.
But they're in good spot. They're not going anywhere. Niners have a lot going on in terms of what they're going to do.
Huge people.
Well, they got quarterback things that they have a quarterback thing they got to figure out what they're doing. Now, you know the gangster.
Yeah.
What do you think he wants to do?
I think he wants Trey Lance to be great. That's what I think he wants. I mean, they've made all that investment in him, but they also could think that, it's so funny. Glazer was saying, if Brock Purdy, has another good game and they beat the Eagles, that, Kyle and John Lynch might think he could be the quarterback next year, which I was like, how's that? They already have to think he could be.
Yeah,
he hadn't lost. He hasn't lost a game that he's played healthy.
Early in the season, I don't recall. I wasn't watching the Niners much early in the season. I know you pay attention to them when you could, if the schedules ever worked out.
Yeah.
How was Lance?
He's not a guy that can, at least right now, operate this offense from the accuracy and cerebral standpoint that Kyle would want. But he gives them a whole other dimension with his ability to move and to run and all of those things. but no.
So he only played one full game?
Yeah. He was out
He was
immediately.
hurt against Seattle, and that was it.
Yep.
So in the one full game and then a little against Seattle that he played, he's 15 of 31.
Right.
194 and a pick.
It's under 50%. What did he run for?
He ran 16 times for 67.
That's a lot of running.
It's a lot of running for that get back.
Yeah, 4 yards a carry.
Yeah. So Purdy ends up on the season, in the regular season, that perfectly explains it all.
That does.
67% passer.
Just to carry
1374, 13 touchdowns, 4 picks. Garoppolo, honestly, what's amazing, Garoppolo and Purdy basically mirror.
Yep.
67% for both of them. Average yards, 8.1, 7.9. Garoppolo is about 75 more yards per game.
By the way, 8 yards an attempt
16
is
touchdowns,
elite
4 interceptions. Yeah.
for those two combined,
Yeah.
or for Purdy.
Lance was 6 yards average.
Yeah.
The two combined, Garoppolo and Purdy combined for 29 touchdowns, 8 picks.
Come on, dude.
Yeah. 222 for Garoppolo a game, 152 for Purdy a game. But they'll have a full season of McCaffrey. They'll have Debo. They will have Juszczyk. They will have Kittle. They will have Mitchell. They will have all of those weapons. And they just got to get the quarterback. They to me, them and the Eagles clearly are the futures. AFC future bets would be on those two.
Yeah. They got to figure out defensively. Ward, Gibson, Emmanuel Mosley. McGlinchey's a good tackle. They got to get Robbie Gould back. But this isn't like a massive group here. That their core is untouched, really, in this.
Yeah, it's a good squad. Got to figure out quarterback and figure out what to do with it. And it does feel to me like
they're always going to have Brock Purdy. I mean,
yeah. You do wonder. I wonder. It'd be interesting to see like what's the temperature of that building, like the players on the team. You have 3 different quarterbacks who played this year.
I think Garoppolo's out. I think that Purdy can give them Garoppolo, so I think he's done.
So where's he land?
Great question.
Is that a Jets? Is that a
no,
Miami?
not anymore. With like LaFleur gone, I don't think it's the Jets.
Is that Miami?
He could be a good backup for Tua. Yeah,
as Tua's still in concussion protocol.
I know.
Tua may not ever play.
Well, they
again.
said they are not interested in Brady because they're committed to Tua.
Well, for now, because but if he can't, I mean, he's been in protocol for 2 months.
Oh, I'm aware. It feels like
that's a long time to be in concussion protocol, bud.
Yeah, it feels like it's hard to imagine when that he could play. You could ever count on him to play 17 games for your team. It feels like a stretch at this point.
Yeah, no. Are you guys aware? We'll get to the soundbite stuff in a second. One last thing we probably could have talked about earlier with the Eagles that we haven't. Are you guys aware of the full scope of the Jalen Hurts career, of the whole operation? So in 2016, he is a true freshman at Alabama. He wins Southeastern Conference Offensive Player of the Year and Rookie of the Year.
Okay.
Alabama is undefeated, loses in the national championship to a guy you've heard of named Deshaun Watson on a last-second throw to Hunter Renfrow.
Yep.
Okay. So they played in back-to-back national title games. Bama had won the year before. Clemson got him the next year. Clemson had the last possession. So that's his only loss. So he's 13-1 as a freshman. The next year, they recruit Tua in behind him. He's a starting quarterback the whole year. He is benched at halftime of the national championship game against Georgia because he cannot throw the football effectively. They cannot throw it, basically. Think about this now, where we are now.
I thought it was there something? Did Tua come in earlier in the year? Did he get dinged up like in it?
No, wait.
I'm not there. Sorry.
So we bench Hurts.
And Tua wins.
Tua wins. It's the walk-off to Devontae Smith. By the way, right before that, took one of the worst sacks you'd ever take. That plays on 3rd and forever and hits Devonta Smith for the walk-off, right? Celebrate together. Decides to come back for the junior season. This is the famous Maria Taylor asking Nick Saban, and Nick Saban goes, so quit asking. What are you going to do with your 2 quarterbacks? He's juggling them, right? But they end up going with Tua. So Jalen Hurts signs up for it. He's the backup. Tua gets hurt in the SEC championship game. Jalen Hurts goes in, wins the game.
Yes.
Beats Georgia in the SEC championship game. Came back. Behind him, they win it. They go back to the national title, get slumped by Lawrence and Clemson out in San Francisco. He enters the transfer portal. There are 2 quarterbacks in the transfer portal that year. Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields. Justin Fields coming off his freshman year at Georgia. Ohio State's all in on Fields. Justin Fields was the passer of the two.
Yep.
So he was going to fit into the operation. There's whispers that Jalen Hurts cannot throw the football.
Yep.
And he's going to have to play another position. So where does the kid pick to go play quarterback?
Lincoln Riley.
The best offense in the country with a quarterback guru who had won the Heisman previous two quarterbacks.
Mayfield and Murray. Yep.
Do you remember the video of Jalen Hurts doing the squat in spring football? And he's got the whole team by their throat a week in.
Yep.
So he's that type
600 pounds or whatever
yeah,
it was.
that type of leadership within a week. Speaking of leadership, good God, a crispy white.
Oh, God.
Oh, my gosh, the
He's
gorgeous
dancing.
khaki.
That's
It's
the light we
unbelievable.
need. That's the illumination.
That's a little bit of shine.
Yeah.
So he finishes second in the Heisman at Oklahoma. He throws for 3,200 yards. He rushes for 1,300 more. And ends up a second-round pick of the Eagles. And everybody said, what are they drafting him for? They had Wentz.
Yep.
Why are they drafting him? To be like a change of pace?
You can never get as much.
And now look at him.
Yeah.
Think of that voyage to get to quarterbacking in the Super Bowl against Mahomes.
Well, and how about this? A year ago at this time, we weren't sure that he was the answer in Philly.
We asked Spadaro at camp, can Hurts throw it? And we
Sal
don't know.
Pal said that too.
Sal Pal said, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
There's a whole bet was on that.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, and I think accurate, he hasn't had to.
He
hasn't had to go chase.
Right.
But they built it around him. I just think it's an incredible story, that the voyage from that standpoint. To lose a job, to pick to go to the hardest place. There's a lot of Burrow in it. Like when Burrow went to LSU, nobody thought Burrow should go to LSU. They don't develop quarterbacks. It's the opposite because Hurts said, I got 1 year to be turned into a quarterback. Who's the best guy to do that? But, man,
when Burrow went to LSU, were people already aware of like Jefferson and Chase and Marshall, that like they had a special group?
You're aware that LSU always has special groups.
Athletes. Right?
You weren't aware that nobody would have known that it was Jefferson and Chase.
I mean, they're like,
two
of the top
that
4
level.
receivers in the league.
Yeah, you wouldn't have known that it was that.
Yeah.
It was a hell of a gamble though when Burrow went there, because nobody comes out of LSU at quarterback. Like they all you go to there to die at quarterback.
Yeah, like the one guy that came out that had Odell and Jarvis, like Zach Mettenberger.
Mettenberger, who transferred in from Georgia,
and he was
garbage
in the pros.
Yeah.
Do people ever ask, to your point, to question a Nick Saban or to question the Buckeyes, like, how did you guys have this wrong, or how come you couldn't? The question for Saban is more, why weren't you able to develop him as a passer? So
Saban, the answer for that on Saban is that's not Saban's gig.
Yeah,
he's defense. He gives the offense. That would have been Kiffin. Would have been no. Kiffin was at FAU. It probably would have been Sarkisian.
Sark, yeah.
Sark would have been the offensive coordinator at that time. So why did he not? And by the way, that still makes no sense that the Mannings gave their kid to him. Ridiculous. But his it's curious. Like, why could you not get this out of him?
And Burrow was not going to play.
How could somebody as good as Jalen Hurts be benched?
Right. And that much of a leader and
all the rest of it.
And Burrow couldn't beat out Barrett?
Haskins.
Well,
Barrett first and then Haskins. So that's the
I find that hard to believe that he could not beat out Dwayne. Like, it's hard for me to get my head around that.
So it's twofold. So it was JT Barrett first.
Okay.
Because Urban at that time, they transitioned from a spread
Braxton
run quarterback,
Miller.
Braxton Miller to JT Barrett. Urban wanted run quarterbacks who would put their nose down and go get yards, and then they hired Ryan Day, and he wanted guys who could spin it. So Burrow would have benefited tremendously from that and would have been amazing. But at that time, so Burrow gets hurt the year before. He transfers in April. He gets hurt in the preseason leading up to the season before. Barrett gets hurt in the Michigan game, and Haskins goes lights out, goes 2 drives, incredible in the Michigan game. And so he had a little bit of a lead on Barrett going into spring because of that. And they basically fought to a standstill. And then Urban did a really stand-up thing and said he named the starter after spring to give one of them the chance to go play somewhere else and be a starter. And so he named Haskins in part because they had seen Haskins in the Michigan game shine. Now, to be fair, you have to remember this.
It just seems nuts that would watch him throw the ball and watch Haskins throw the ball and be like, I'd want that guy.
Haskins had a howitzer
So what, though? It's ugly.
Dude, Haskins threw for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns, was a Heisman finalist. So
I
it's
know,
not like he didn't get it done.
But we're talking about Joe Burrow.
I understand. But you have to – the context of it all was in college they were very close, and Haskins had more physical traits. That's how it happened. And by the way, it all ended up fine because Burrow goes to LSU, does all the thing he does. Ohio State ends up Haskins Fields, both Heisman finalists. So it all kind of worked, oddly.
Don't you feel like if you had Joe Burrow, you win a national championship?
Buddy, I knew Joe when he was 16. Nobody thought that this is what it would be. Like it was his combination. It was the combination of the Ohio State, the way they turn you into a pro from a body standpoint, and then the coaching that he got from Day, and then essentially when he got to LSU,
It was what, Joe Brady?
and his own self-belief. He believed in such a big way. And honestly, I don't know. Like I think the chip at Ohio State helped him. Like the fact that he didn't win the job. But he was not Quinn Ewers. He wasn't like a 5-star guy. His only other big-time Division I offer was Nebraska, and that's where his dad played. It was Ohio State, Nebraska.
I know.
It wasn't like everybody was doing it.
It's hard for me to fathom being around watching him throw the ball at practice, and I would be like, yeah, I don't want that guy to play for my team.
They liked him a lot, but they had an embarrassment of riches at the time. Probably the bigger what if is why one of them didn't unseat Barrett going into his senior year. That's probably the one because Haskins was great. He really was. At Ohio State, he was great.
I gotta tell you,
Yeah.
And when we played them, and just watching him warm up, I was like, this is nuts. And
Well,
maybe he was
broke.
mentally fractured at that point, but
Yeah, I think he got broke.
it was awful.
Yeah, he was. I want to say I think his college stats are going to blow your mind.
Well, you just said 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns. So.
Yeah, I think it was 5.
So, like, did Burrow break his records?
No, Burrow's close to 6,000 yards that year at LSU.
And how many touchdowns?
I think he was close to 60.
I mean, it's not that far away from 5,050. I mean,
No,
5,050
but Haskins wasn't the record. I think the record was like,
yeah,
well, I think our guy we played this year for the Patriots
had it,
right?
Zappy,
Yeah.
Western Kentucky, right? The Hilltoppers or something like that. I'm just saying Haskins' season had to be one of the 5 best ever.
Yeah. It was really good. Let's see what he ended up.
5.
Yeah. 70%, 48, 31, 50, and 8. 50 touchdowns.
Okay, what
8
was
picks.
Burrow's nutso year? Was that the same year?
No. Burrow's junior year. In fact, Burrow's junior year at LSU, you wouldn't have thought that he's this. It wasn't until the second half of his junior year that he really took off.
That's right.
Yeah.
I forget that he was there for 2 years,
Yeah.
and he did not look great his first
His
year.
junior year was really like a lot of people. I remember telling my buddies down there, I'm like, he's a dude, and people were like, doesn't look like it to us. But then the second half, yeah, Burrow was 58% passer the first year at LSU.
Okay.
28-94, 16-5. The senior year is the greatest single season in the history of college football.
Yeah.
He's 76%, 56-71, 60-6. That's it. It's him and Cam Newton. Those are the 2 best seasons in the history of college football. They did it. Have some.
I was just talking. I was going to say, who was I just talking to about Cam Newton? Did you know Cam Newton was Joe Hayden's roommate at Florida their freshman years?
I didn't, but I knew that they were there at the same time.
And he said he just didn't know how to like be a quarterback yet, but the guy was like unreal. And obviously he wasn't able to stay at Florida.
Yeah,
which
laptops.
felt like at that point a challenge to get yourself out of that program. Like that was kind of an accomplishment to be told that you could no longer compete there.
Dude, they put Tebow with Hernandez. That was Tebow's roommate, Aaron Hernandez.
Well, the message didn't quite get through.
All of Tim's good did not get through.
So we were talking about this when we were with Joe. Like if you were to play the greatest college football game ever and you had every player ever, so you're going to have 2 rosters play the greatest college football game ever.
Yeah.
Is Tebow starting for a team, isn't he? Or he's certainly in a room. He was dominant.
Can we answer after the break?
Yeah, we can answer after the break.
Yeah,
You're
he's
listening to
got a
Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, coming soon to Ohio on 850.
So you'd
ESPN
have
Cleveland. The most passionate fan base in the NFL. Join the Browns season ticket member waitlist today for the best chance of securing tickets for all home games in future seasons. Don't miss out. Go to clevelandbrowns.com/tickets or call 440-891-5050 to reserve your spot today. The hard part with the college football conversation is it's hard to not be biased by their NFL career or lack thereof. So you're trying to remember what they were in a moment. And I think the best doppelganger for Tebow is probably like Tommy Frazier, who was the quarterback in Nebraska in the mid-'90s. Sure. He won 2 national championships. The 95 Nebraska team is the most dominant college football team of all time. It's insane. Their average scores beat 6 ranked teams. Average margins like 30 a game, and that's not even hyperbole.
Tom Osborne?
Yeah. Lawrence Phillips. Didn't end well.
The biggest guy from my high school, Constantine Dumitrescu, who was like a 6'8", 350-pound tackle.
Yeah.
Got recruited to Nebraska in there.
Did he go?
He went, in their heyday. He never amounted. He never played really anything of consequence. But
there was a time. I mean, they won 3 national titles in a 4-year period.
Yeah.
Their scores are crazy. So they beat Oklahoma State 64-21. They beat Michigan State 50-10. They beat Arizona State 77-28. They beat Pacific 47-7. Washington State's their closest game. They beat them 35-21. Missouri 57-0. Kansas State 49-25. Colorado 44-21. Iowa State 73-14. Kansas 41-3. Oklahoma 37-0. And they beat Florida for the national title 62-24. Their closest game was 35-21. So Frazier was the linchpin of that. That's the thing. The thing with Tebow is he's a 3-time Heisman finalist.
Yep.
You can, with a straight face, make an argument he's the best college football player of all time. You could do that. I mean, he won it. He was a finalist 3 other times. He was a part of 2 national championship teams. They won it as a freshman. He was a role player. They won it when he was a junior, when they had one of the most dominant teams of all time with Percy Harvin and all those guys. So, like, his senior year, they are undefeated. They don't lose till they lose in the SEC title game to Bama. So, like, he wins it as a sophomore. And yet, like, statistically, there isn't, like, the Burrow-Newton season.
Right.
There's not a season where it was like he was the orchestrator of some of the most talented college football teams we've seen. He was a tremendous leader. He was a really good passer, runner, but they were loaded. Right?
Yeah.
So, and he was a 3-year starter. He stuck around.
Right, so Tebow's college.
Yeah.
It's actually better than I would have thought.
It's good. I mean, I'm sure he has a 4,000-yard passing season. I'm sure he's got a 1,000-yard rushing season.
He's got no 4,000-yard passing season.
What's the closest he gets?
The best is 67% completions, 3,300 yards, 9.4 an attempt, 32 touchdowns, 6 picks. He had back-to-back seasons where he threw 62 touchdowns, 10 picks, completed 67% of his passes, and in those 2 seasons, he also ran for nearly 2,000 yards and 35 touchdowns.
Yeah, he was unbelievable in the goal line.
Bowling ball. 2007, Tim Tebow, 67% passing, 3,300 yards, 9.4 an attempt, 32 passing touchdowns, 6 picks, rating 172.5. He also ran for 900 yards and 23 touchdowns. So he had.
That's the Heisman year, right?
So
that's sophomore.
Yep. Yeah. 50, 23, and 55 touchdowns all on his own.
And then
2 minutes.
Everything in the red zone they gave him.
Just gave it to him
inside the 5.
Awesome. Here's one that shocked me. I just looked up Jim Kelly
at Miami.
Not great. Like 55%.
Totally different era. Like
that's
just a totally different.
That's why this one stands out to me. Vinny Testaverde was kind of a baller.
Yes, he was. They lost to Penn State in the national championship game in the desert. Got drilled.
Is that in the camouflage?
They showed up in the fatigues and got drilled.
Yeah.
He was unbelievable. The 2 best, I think the 2 best college football seasons of all time are Newton and Burrow. Those are the 2. The argument otherwise, they both went undefeated in the SEC. In the SEC West, statistically, they were monsters. They both won the Heisman. They both went to programs that historically, you could argue Cam's is even better because he does not have Chase and Jefferson.
1 minute.
The Cam season's unbelievable.
Here's a crazy one for you. Frazier's best season, Tommy Frazier's best season, he completed 47% of his passes.
Oh, yeah.
For his career, 49% completions, 43 touchdowns, 11 picks. And his best running season was 704 yards and 9. We had 1 year 604 and 14, but not like
he never played in the second half, and they ran triple option.
But 49% is crazy.
No, they didn't throw it. I mean, it was It's wild.
Yeah.
All right, lots more to react to on this one on the Championship Sunday. Start turning our attention to the Super Bowl in a couple of weeks and the offseason plans as well. The next level's coming up next. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Bally Bet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland.